Well, hello and welcome back to episode 29, titled The More Mistakes You Make, the More You Learn. Yeah, right. Tinnitus and Artificial Intelligence. I once heard that the more mistakes you make, the more you learn. And I just said this before. Yeah, right. I'm not so sure about that. I don't think it always works that way. I've made several thousands of mistakes through my 67 years and maybe more than that, but one thing is for sure, I'm not very good with the learning part. After my third appointment with my ENT doctor in the past 3 months, which naturally included numerous tests for lightheadedness, dizziness, and tinnitus, they informed me that tinnitus is your ears adjusting to the slight loss in hearing in the affected ear. So, of course, this is nature's way of inflicting more pain and annoyance to something that is already annoying, though not necessarily painful. So now I can't hear as well in my right ear and have to deal with an endless ringing in my ear, which is contributing to my hearing loss. Like I've always said, nature is not always kind and does not necessarily work in our favor. Please take note, artificial intelligence is just that. It's artificial, especially when it comes to having driverless cars. Driving a car is considered to be the most complicated thing that we do predominantly. So it must then translate into the most complicated artificial intelligence application design also. So if you decide to drive a driverless car, don't recline your seat and take a nap while the car goes through its motions. Personally, I don't feel that we will have a truly driverless car that will not make a mistake for decades, if ever. After all, we're all human, so whatever we design, we have our genome on the final product. While igniting a fire one night with some friends in our backyard back in May, with our stone fire pit mostly consisting of smaller wood, broken branches, twigs, and a few larger tree branches that were quite dry from the lack of precipitation over the past 2 months, I made the mistake of adding some gasoline to the mix before lighting, foolishly overlooking the fact that the wood was relatively dry. I gave the wood and gas a moment to soak in, and when I threw in the first match, the wood rapidly went up in a large flame, instantly followed by an immense boom that sent me reeling away from the sound and not hurt, fortunately. The sound was much louder than I expected, and soon after, our neighbors texted us to ask if we heard the noise, and for those neighbors close enough, inquired as to what exactly happened. Realizing it came from our backyard with flames possibly 20 feet high, hopefully, I learned a lesson. One neighbor across the street claimed that they felt a tremor in the chair she was sitting in, and very soon after, the fire department showed up, and I sheepishly apologized, and they were understanding and cordial. Being that this pit is near the woods and that it had been dry for the past couple of months, they had to douse the fire. It was a quick fire, but little did we know that since the wood was quite dry and much of it was still in the pit, within a couple of minutes the fire came back and reignited and would still be smoldering until the next morning. But here's my favorite part. Our friends that shared the experience with us decided to bring over torch fuel the next day for assisting in starting a fire. To which I replied, "Why did you bring over this torch fuel? You think I have an issue starting fires? It's quite obvious that I can start a fire, especially after last night. The problem I have is putting fires out. And that's why there's a fire department that is about a mile and a half away from us, fortunately. If you want to start a fire, I'm your guy. Just not sure how safe it will be and how long the fire will last. I'm fairly certain that our next fire will be smaller, quieter, and less consequential." And we still don't know which neighbor called the fire department. I wonder, do the natives in Nepal and the jungles of Peru and Brazil and Central Africa ever brush their teeth? I'm not being facetious simply because, when you wake up in the morning and you had too much to drink and eat, the first thing you want to do is brush your teeth. I'm just wondering if they don't ever brush their teeth. Maybe they just get used to it. They don't have to have a toothbrush, toothpaste, and don't have to worry about dentists. And yeah, maybe with their diet, they don't need to. I'm just wondering. As my wife goes about her business every day around the house, cleaning, cooking, organizing, etc., I tend to ask her if she needs any help, and her reply is always, "No, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing, and I want to do this right." I'm used to it now, and consequently, I ask her questions less and less. I've yet to listen to one national anthem that sounds like a memorable composition, especially ours, since the Star Spangled Banner actually made one of the lists of the worst 100 songs of all time and was very high in the list. And while watching the UFA Euro 2020 Cup qualifying and listening to some of the European national anthems, the thought crossed my mind to listen to some of them to see if I can find what I consider to be an enjoyable or quality composition. The ones I've heard are incredibly boring, just like our national anthem, and most of them seem to be feeble attempts at some sort of inspiration which falls short. But I realize that many of these songs were written a long time ago. And I'll end with this one. The B7 sharp 5 chord is the badass chord in music. It'll make you go to church on Tuesday, make you want your mommy. It has an edge to it that no other chord has. And I will stop here. See you soon.